for the upcoming 5 years will focus on the environment, climate change. So within this framework, we'll have many programs implemented in this regard too.
Absolutely, yeah. Because the issues of land degradation, vital. Issues of overgrazing, vital. Issues of water, vital. Issues of air pollution, vital. So a lot of issues on which we have to work with Mongolia. But as I said again, our effort will be not to do things for Mongolia. Our effort will be to help build the capacity for Mongolia to be able to do. We have also committed that Mongolia is establishing the Center for Landlocked States, and we have now committed to support Mongolia in this international center for landlocked countries, because issues of landlocked countries are quite different from those of others, and Mongolia is, I would say, the ultimate landlocked country, because the distances of its landlocked nature are much greater than any other landlocked country, certainly in our region. I mean, we have 4 or 5 landlocked countries in the region, but nobody is as far away from elsewhere as, say, Mongolia is. So it's very important that, you know, we help in addressing these issues as well.
Good. At the press conference, the State Secretary, Tsokhpater, said that this trip was very revealing for you, for also the other colleagues from the United Nations Development Program, revealing in a sense that you were able to see the actual results of your work, and also maybe you have had some generation of thoughts on where you have to enhance your operation. Right. So would you please share with the results of your observations from the countryside? As you said, there were issues, there were works to be done in the area of job creation, in the area of promotion, small and medium-sized enterprises, and also restructuring the agricultural livestock breeding and the way we farm.
Well, I mean, you know, first of all, it was a wonderful trip, and I haven't seen such beautiful, vast countryside anywhere in the world. And, you know, unless you've been here, you can't even imagine it. So just the expanse and the countryside is just with all the gears that you see in different places. And, you know, it's just a lifestyle that is very unusual, that one has not seen. And the countryside is so beautiful. But of course, also there are big challenges in there. And some of the programs that I saw have been, with, you know, limited amounts of resources, quite successful. So what it shows you is that with well planned, well thought of programs which address real challenges of people, with a little bit of support to them, it actually motivates the local people to do more themselves. I mean, our support is quite small compared to what the needs are. But whichever project I saw, whether it was working with the Legal Aid Center, working with the NEMA, the National Emergency Management Agency, you know, how at the local level you give people a little bit of help, and they get so motivated that it, you know, multiplies itself many times over, because people are ready to, you know, take on these challenges. And this help goes a very long way. That said, you know, there are still major challenges there. For example, 40 million head of livestock is a lot on this land. And therefore, you know, of course you have this natural phenomena of a zud that corrects this, but this is a very painful way of correcting. So what you need is really to be able to extract more income from less grazing, or in a more organized way of grazing. I mean, you need, and also you need to have supplemental, you know, programs like fodder and hay and things like that, because just relying on land-based grazing like that is going to really permanently damage more and more and make the situation unsustainable. Similarly, in the mining sector, you have people going into what is known here as, I'm told, ninja mining, which is an interesting phrase that I'd never heard of before. But there are issues related to how the mining sector will impact on the natural resources as well. And then the most important thing, of course, is how to diversify and use the mining resources to diversify into other activities. And that's the critical part that needs to be addressed, I think. And this is where, one has to sit down and work through what are the kind of programs and policies that are constraining people. Is it credit to the small-scale industry? Is it some initial help that will get them started, that will keep them going? Is it licensing issues? I mean, one has to go through it sort of sector by sector and see where the potential lies. I think because of its high import content, Mongolia should be able to, at least in some areas, be able to produce more of that here. That way also create more jobs here, food processing and this kind of activities should be more done here. Yeah. But there could be many other activities as well. So these are the big challenges that I think Mongolia faces. But my impression is most people here seem to be well aware of what they need to do. But the question now is how to get it done and how to get the political system to focus and allocate the resources to make sure that it happens.
I haven't had a chance to read your book on the role of the state.
Right.
But what would you say about the role of the state at this juncture, maybe juncture of economic development as Mongolia is in now?
Well, I think, what the global crisis has shown us is that, markets are important, but, markets don't function in a vacuum, and the unrestrained markets will also lead you into lots of problems, right? So you say, well, the livestock sector, they should be allowed to graze as much as they want, but then you will have overgrazing at some point, and that, because ultimately the market has to rely on common goods, whether it's land or water or air or whatever. And therefore, it can't be unconstrained, right? So that's one issue, which is the role, important what the crisis has done is re-emphasize how important the role of the state is in regulating. The other thing is that there are some services which private sector will not provide. For example, Mongolia went through a major period of a shift to the market, but a lot of government services have declined. For example, if you take the livestock sector, veterinary services have completely disintegrated. And you really can't run a livestock economy without a fully functioning veterinary system. And the private sector, at this point in time, I really don't see them being able to do it. It'll have to be the government coming back in some organized way to do this. It affects the potential for livestock meat exports because you don't have good livestock veterinary service. Other countries are scared of buying meat from here. Even China is not buying, and China has a huge demand for meat products. Russia is not buying. So your two biggest neighbors are not buying because the certification issues are there. So, the role of the state is re-emerging as very, very important. And therefore, I do think that the 9th MDG that Mongolia has probably should be adopted by everybody, because without an effective state and functioning state, really development is not possible. You know, markets will make the jobs, but a fully functioning state is needed to guide the process. Without that, it's impossible. I'm not suggesting that the state should be doing what the market does, which is produce products and sell them and all that. But behind that has to be a support system which only a government, effective government, can provide.
And where the PPP comes as a very handy instrument of enhancing the cooperation between the government and the private sector.
Now, there are, of course, areas where public-private partnerships can be very effective as well. And in a number of areas they can be made to work, particularly even these days on communication, on infrastructure. Good PPP arrangements are possible and should be looked at as well, you know. Of course, you have the mining sector where the government is owning and private sector is actually operating. So that's another way of looking at it as well. But what the crisis has shown is, you know, unconstrained market is actually quite damaging, and we are only learning that after the horse has left the barn, so to speak, you know.
Just out of curiosity, for the interest of my viewers, I would like to now get very briefly into your types of the jobs or positions that you run. You are the United Nations Assistant Secretary General, which sounds a very exotic job, and also you run the United Nations Development Program as an Assistant Administrator. Would you please, just out of interest, tell my audience what are your daily duties? Because, you know, as I said, the United Nations is the government of governments, and it's very interesting for Mongolian public to know.
Well, my main job is really twofold. One is that I head the Asia Pacific Bureau of UNDP, which is composed of 39 Asia Pacific countries. And in each of them we have a UNDP presence, like we have here. We have a resident coordinator. So my job in New York is to really kind of guide that Asia Pacific program of UNDP, whether it's in China or India or Mongolia or Bhutan or Nepal and all. So it starts from Iran and goes all the way up to Tonga. That's one main job. The other main job I have is that I am also chair of the United Nations Development Group in Asia and Pacific. That is all the UN agencies, UNICEF, WHO, ILO, FAO. Each has a regional director, and that group meets as a team. And my role is also to chair that group so that we can coordinate better across the UN how we are supporting countries in the region. So those are my two main jobs, basically. Yeah.
Very, very vital for solving many important issues for the whole region.
Right.
So I would like, on behalf of my audience, wish you success in your most responsible and most honorable mission to secure the well-being of at least our part of the world, Asia and Pacific. I thank you very much for being with us tonight. And I would like to thank the audience for being with the face-to-face tonight. Hosting Mr. Ajay Chhibber, United Nations Assistant Secretary General, Assistant Administrator of the UNDP, and the Director of the Regional Bureau for Asia and Pacific of the UNDP. Thank you and goodbye.